4 in the morning. It's like, it's not time to get up yet.
Right.
I'm not flying anywhere today, and I'm not in Boston.
There you go.
Yeah.
A good feeling though. All right, I'm rolling. Ready
You're
when
good.
you
All
are.
right. So Ash, tell us about your favorite Alaska Airlines experience.
Always flying to Hawaii. It's certainly a highlight. Try to go every year. Don't always make it every year, but it's just a great way to get away. Mini vacation. You know, sometimes if it's only 4 or 5 days. I love the experience. I always use gold upgrades to fly first class. The flight attendants always make first class on those Hawaii flights really, really special. Of course, with your mimosas and your pod juice and just like keeping the alcohol flowing, you got your leis going, the flowers going, the food is always really nice, the breakfast and everything, and just, it always feels great. They always usually recognize like, oh, you're clearly traveling for pleasure, like thanks for all of your travel. They can sort of at least intuit that this is not my normal business flight to Seattle that I make every week. It's just great, always feels great.
That's great. What do you think Alaska does differently that airlines don't do?
I mean, part of it really comes down to sort of the dedication and the service. Certainly, I notice when I fly other airlines, which I try not to do very much, I just don't feel as loved that the airline is working out for me. It's more of a transactional thing than a personal thing. So that's certainly what keeps me coming back to Alaska.
Is there an example of one of those experiences that makes you feel loved that comes to mind?
Well, again, it's just sort of those, welcome you by name, thank you for being gold, all these sort of nice touches. Like, yeah, it is nice to be appreciated. Like, yes, I do give you a lot of business, but I also feel like you get a lot in return. Which isn't to say that it's all roses, right? Like, I've had some experiences like, this is terrible. And it's not even an Alaska fault. Like, I was late for a flight. I was relating earlier to try to make it to Denver, and like everything went wrong that could go wrong that morning. And so I missed the flight. It's like, well, I needed to check a bag, but it was too late to check bags. Like, well, I don't need my bag in Seattle. I just had to get to Seattle. But no, it's too late to check a bag. It's like, can we send the bag on the next flight? And I'm sure it's an FAA sort of thing, and it was an Alaska thing, but I just like, it just led to a bad experience. Like, I don't need the bag, and ultimately, went on a later flight. So I was at the airport way too early for the later flight, and it made me feel bleh. And so like, there's probably a way for that exchange to have gone better of like, oh, sorry, like it's an FAA thing, we can't do this or whatever, and that would have helped a lot. But I just sort of left feeling like, today sucks. Yeah.
What role do you think the flight attendant plays in kind of the service orientation that you talked about before?
For sure it does. When the flight attendants are on, it's great, right? And sort of there's a little bit of inconsistency, which sort of leads you to like, I don't always get upgraded on my flight, so sometimes I'm sitting back in exit row or in premium, and it's like, what would you like to drink? And, I'll order like Woodford's on ice, and like often flight attendants was like, do you want a double? I'm like, sure, and some will just give it to me and not ask, and then some will just give me the single and not offer. And it's like, the inconsistency is like, what am I gonna get out of this experience? Which is always just sort of like, you're left guessing about what's gonna happen. I've had a couple experiences too where I have a fairly unusual first name, and it was like, and they're like, you're not Ms. Morgan, like, no,
No.
but I'm Mr. Morgan. Like, and it's just one of the things that's completely unnecessary. Like, even if there was a seat mix-up and like somebody else was in my seat, like, just don't do that. Like, just assume, like, cool, yes, you're probably this person. And if I later say like, hey, no, I'm gold, like, oh, you switched these, like I did. Like, yep, that person got a free drink or a free whatever. Like, the damage that you do by that interaction is just not worth whatever you're gonna say from that. So, like, that's just always say, hey, Mr. Morgan, that's awesome. That's what I like to hear. And it just sort of makes the whole experience feel better.
Great. What can we do better? What can we do to become the best West Coast airline?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the thing I think is, again, just consistency, how the flight attendants go through and greet, do the service and do all of that. And then ultimately it comes down to, do you fly where I need to fly? Are the times available? Are the fares competitive? At this point, the fares is not actually the thing that drives me the most, right? Because I've built enough, status that like going to any other airline when you don't have status is really painful. So you sort of get locked into an airline, right? Once you get status on an airline. So it's mostly just about maintaining that loyalty, since the loyalty is already there, and not doing anything to damage that relationship, which you'd have to try pretty hard to do. And you're clearly actively trying to improve it, right? So I'm not really worried about like, oh yeah, sorry, you don't get free check bags anymore. Like, you wouldn't do that because that's just dumb, right? But in terms of trying to attract more people to the brand loyalty, ultimately I think it comes down to being competitive on fares and features of things like check bags and other things, especially, again, competing against Southwest, right? Having to pay for those other fees and everything else, you know, like it adds up. And for folks that it doesn't matter, that's great. Say, you know, I have a lower fare than Southwest, but when the fares are the same and there's free check bags, it's like, you know, what am I doing? I do like that there's more non-stops with Alaska. A lot of the Southwest ones kind of sneak in of like stop here, angle there, and got to be a little careful about which ones you book.
Yeah. Anything else you want to share?
I mean, in general, as I said, like Alaska's great. I've been flying it for years, up and back to Seattle all the time. I love taking it places. I like the Virgin merger because it expanded flights east. I traveled to Denver a lot. I traveled to the Midwest, Chicago a lot. So it's great having those routes, at least the Denver one temporarily open up. It'd be great to see that one come back. Maybe from San Jose is better than SFO, even better for me, though I would obviously take either one. And just, again, continuing to fly the places that people want to fly. Love to see San Jose and San Francisco become bigger hubs. Clearly you can go anywhere from Seattle, but I don't live in Seattle, though I visit a lot.
Yeah. All right, anything else, Tom?
I think that's good.
Great.
It's a lot of good information.
Awesome, sure,
Appreciate
thanks.
it.
Yeah.
All right.